This is the first time I've gotten to hear Craig speak.
Yeah. Craig is with us. And with Craig was with us, who shall be against us?
Many.
All right. So, no need for recapping, as everyone knows where we are. Everyone understands where the coterie is, and who's beside whom. Because when things hit the fan, such as Shiza, pigeons, and various other things that should not be there, the mess gets splattered across rooms, counties, miles. And it comes down to who's in the foxhole with you, who is there next to you. When the world begins falling around your head, when the sky cracks open and hell begins spewing its horde up onto our mortal spaces. When the coil is not enough to keep all of the worst imaginings at bay. It wasn't an honest question. Everyone remembers who's to their right, to their left, and who's with them.
Yes. Ryan and Lacey are in the hallway. Ryan just slammed the door on everybody else's side.
Maya's standing just outside the door with a glass in each hand, looking at the body.
And Elias is directly over the body.
With Rick near the body as well, trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yes, what will you all do is the question. Because there is the proof that kindred are only ever truly immortal as of yet. It's only this proof that the promise of immortality, like much and many of the promises that the kindred engage with, is a lie. Broken. It's all about perception.
I had a question of what are our surroundings? I mean, what is outside the building with us? I mean, like, is there somewhere we could potentially hide the body? That's probably what I'd be looking around for.
Excellent. That's a great question and a great consideration. The situation here, unfortunately, is one of ever-escalating shortage of focus. Because as your coterie mates stand in the pathway, in the very maw of madness, as the footsteps grow closer, people begin to notice that there is another way out, that mirror that was there a second ago was not a mirror but a doorway. Everyone understanding that this place, this space, has been a factory of ever-increasing features of fun. There's another corner, another nook, another place, there's always more. And unfortunately, kindred, people that associate with them, and even the mortals who don't realize that they are associating with them, the opportunity of more is ever more tantalizing. It is the clarion call that causes folks to not appreciate nor accept what is. The comparison and contrast of what you have versus what you can gain always skews towards what you might gain. And so, the promise of more is what's drawing those others down that hall. It is a matter of moments. It's a matter of lifetimes spent out by the microsecond, by the nano fraction of time. Hundreds of lifetimes passing by all too quickly. Those seconds feel like no time at all. Those moments requiring absolute focused, attenuated attention, meaning as you stand over the body, as your senses heighten, trying to discern the what of it all. The glowing neon reflected vitae that's slowly losing its color and becoming that dried, darkened remnants of life. Like that, here lies a Coder member whose face was as intimately known as your own. The youngest of you all. One who had the rest of forever ahead of them, who had the, well, or humanity to be lost by the second, who was in fact, if things are being absolutely fairly equal and presented more human than all of you. Newer to the blood. One who believed in the power and artistry of art, the magic therein. One who hadn't had much more of themselves stripped away by the necessity of death, lying dead before you. The pool of vitae beneath them not nearly as interesting nor engaging as the vitae sigils across their bodies, what you can see visible. Finger paint of frustration and all sorts of grotesquerie. The curiosity of the fact that it has a neon hue to it. And then there's the rest of the world. You can hear the broad walk not far off. You can smell the ocean not far off. You realize that this alleyway that you are in is based on all of the superficial details that you can discover, that you can notice as you tear your gaze away from him, is not far from the broad walk where you all entered. Yes, it's further north. That much is obvious. Altitude of where you are would require, well, more precious seconds, more precious discernment, more power, more brain power at once. Because the truth of the matter is, everyone believes that we multitask. Everyone believes that there is a skill always at play, needing to type and engage with some other media visually and orally, and another something being done physically. You may be bouncing on some ball, maintaining your core, or you may be absently looking at two different things at once. But the truth of the matter is, you have 100% focus. Just 100%. And it's divided by the number of things that you are doing. It is split by the number of things you are doing. And while men lie, women lie, children tell fibs, and animals are learning to deceive, numbers don't. They can be used to prove a deception. They don't deceive in and of themselves. So 100% of a thing divided by X number of things, for instance, let's say just 2. What percentage of your focus are you paying to those 2 different things? Or 3 different things? But let's circle back to just 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Your mate's existence and obtaining all the clues possible only worth 50% of your focus. Is that great? But that's for you to decide and for us to figure out as without a shadow of a doubt, this is Vivid Collusions, Episode 2, Germs of Betrayal. We will be diving in immediately, seconds, blinks of an eye from where we last left this coterie. And as footfalls grow close, as the night steals away into the foreverness of, well, forever, as each second disappears into the vault of time, goes without needing to be said, but will anyway. What is it that we are doing? And we will move in an anti-alphabetical manner, starting with Maya, then Ryan, then Rick, then
Yes.
Lacey, and then Elias. And
First thing Samaya says is, Elias, Rick, get him up. Make him look alive, drunk, I don't care, but get him up. And should they do so, Samaya is going to smash the 2 drinks she's holding in the puddle that's left behind to try to muddle the appearance of there having been a murder or an excess of blood.
Right. Ryan's gonna look over Lacey and kind of grab her and pull her closer. She doesn't want to move away from the door, so she's gonna bite her own wrist, smear a little blood around her own mouth, and a little bit of blood on Lacey before closing the wound. You stay right here with me. You're not moving. We're not going anywhere. Just stay right here with me. As she kind of holds her in front of her, almost like a lover's embrace.
you see,
No, I'm gonna wait for Elias to come up with a plan on how we're gonna. As in, I'll pick him up, but I don't really know what we're gonna do with him. I don't know how we're gonna make him look alive if his head's, like, open.
okay.
I'll pick him up and move him inside so at least the mortals outside don't see him.
But I think Ryan closed the door on us. She said we
Ryan's
can't
not
take him
letting
inside.
you in.
We're in the alley and we've got just enough time to move him.
Okay then, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, no, we got to do what was Samaya's right. We just need to move him, at least make this look as normal as possible.
Yeah, yeah, slight problem about that. I kind of, I'll put my hood up, put my mask on, and sort of pick him up, and, like, fling him over my shoulder, make it look like he's just, like, drunk and leaning on me. It's like, have you got anything to cover his head, so at the very least that's not exposed? We can just pass him off as someone who's had a bit too much, like she said.
Samaya will throw off her. She's got that crimson wrap that she's got. You can throw it over, almost like a shawl.
Yeah, that'll do. All right. Where are we taking
Right, perfect. About to. The car's not too far from here. Actually, nobody. We're what, a couple blocks away from where we originally parked.
Oh, you are more than a couple of blocks. You are not far, but not far varies, especially in a town such as this, where walking is part of the tourist experience. The broad walk, unlike most other boardwalks, is not a pier or a 3-4 block situation. No, it's a street. It is In fact, a city zone, a district unto itself. The Broad Walk covers all total, and well, this portion of the Broad Walk covers all total roughly 4.5, 5 miles. You went from the southern end of it to the northern end of it. Of course, unfortunately for you, the Broad Walk also goes west to east.
So around 4 miles or so from where we started?
Give or take, yes. Within a very close proximity of that. It is not a hop, skip, and a jump. It would be at an average, if you all did it at a good clip of a walk, a semi-run, that's 15 minutes times a minimum of 4.
All right. Best I can think is find somewhere to hide. Maybe we just need to get him somewhere out of the way where he won't be noticed. Then maybe one of us goes to get a car, come back and pick him up.
Yeah. Keeps the shadows as much as possible.
So I figure
You guys
we're looking
guys
for
are
just
gonna
for
be
somewhere to hide him.
Okay.
Yeah, so we basically, Farrell and myself both have an arm over us. So we're just carrying him, maybe like a drunk friend. And just trying to get somewhere where he won't be noticed, as out of the way as possible. And then maybe once we have somewhere secure, we can look into transporting more from there.
We have several things happening. So we have several things happening at once, as is always the case. We will handle this with a quick approximation of roles. There is the attempt to deceive, the attempt to obfuscate what exactly is taking place, to obscure the details and the truth of the matter. There is teamwork at play, so all of the roles will receive a benefit due that as well. And as such, let's take a quick gander and see what we have available to the coterie as per fate's direct and indirect callousness. Inside in the hall, acting as distraction, who would be taking the point? Would that be Ryan or would it be Lacey?
I think it'd be Ryan.
Definitely Ryan, because Lacey is confused as to why this person is grabbing her as such and smearing things on her mouth. It's it's like when you're trying to wipe dirt off a toddler's face and they're just like not having it. That is literally what the fuck is going on. Lacey's like kind of flinching back and pushing at her like, what the fuck are you doing? Confused by all of this because the last thing she's thinking about is what's going on outside. And then now she's telling her, like, just be so still, be here with me. And she's like, but I don't want to be here at all. So
quite understandable. It is a stressful situation under the best of situations, and the best of concerns, and the best of views. The most insane consideration of what's happening is the last place most individuals would want to be. And that being the case, Ryan, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and performance? Excuse me, one quick second. Something's happening upstairs.
Okay.
This is such a mess.
Yep.
I think if Lacey had a moment to process, she'd probably be a little more cooperative. But this has literally been craziness. She was chasing somebody, and then she found his body, and then she had to go get her friends, and it's just been nuts.
It's a lot.
And now Ryan is staging a fanging session in the back hallway.
And Lacey hasn't even been able to tell us about the person who doesn't belong here.
Mm-hmm. Just that mental image of the toddler trying to get away after his sticky face of popsicles. It's great.
Sorry about that. Distraction. But we're back. So we have our manipulation and performance roll, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Standard difficulty.
Always aim for standard. If it's contested, if it needs to be higher, there's always willpower. There's always rousing. You get a choice to decide your agency. So very rarely am I going to give you a target number to hit because it's all about your investment in the situation. You get to choose what risk your character believes is necessary. Is it worth pushing the extra oomph to it? Is it a consideration of, well, I'm down on resources. I don't know if I need to do this or not. It's never going to be a factor on it. It's always going to be as high as possible, with standard difficulty being the absolute minimum.
Okay. So I am going to rouse for this because this is a stressful situation and it needs to go her way.
And while that roll is in the offing, on the outside, as you all try to gather your wits and decide what's the best place to, well, without belaboring the point, disturb and hide a murder scene, remove a body from the murder scene without being caught in the act, and, well, let's be perfectly honest, play with the corpse of your now deceased coterie member. So, who would be taking the point and handling the role for that particular portion of the evening?
I guess I'm the one who's been ordering everybody around.
Excellent. We like agency and accountability. That being the case, because there are several factors happening, both physical and mental, in the attempt to disguise what's happening and play the part, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your plus?
Your roll call didn't come through on the audio.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So go ahead and roll either your wits plus larceny or your manipulation plus investigation.
I will do manipulation plus investigation.
Forget your plus. Do assistance.
1 die?
Yes. Always the opportunity of fate lending a hand. There's always the opportunity of fate doing more and standing in the way of your potential success. Usually, situations such as this laughs along at the conflation of chaos. Serendipity, however, will view things in the favor of the most spectacular, whatever those might be. And injury to insult of it all, Kismet typically plays their part by lashing out, picking the hand that helps, biting the hand that feeds. And in Hollywood's plotted, planned, portioned in the chaotic dance of entertainment seeking tourists and the balance of whispered power screaming his name into the dark of night. There's always one thing more. There's always one measure of a thing that adds to the whole, distracting from one's goal. While outside, as Samaya, Rick, and Elias move Tristan's body, finally deciding that unfortunately, as much as it is disrespectful, as dastardly as it is, there is no other recourse. It is an alley, there is a bate, there are people coming, and the night is still, well, largely ahead of everyone. A corpse is a corpse is a corpse. And Tristan is young enough to the night that he is not the remnant of a kindred. There's no moldering instantaneously to make him look considerably older. He's not a movie prop that could be easily hidden beneath other plastic movie props. He is not the fading dust of those who've been dead longer than 10 years. No, he is a quickly moldering corpse. The very moment that you all lift him, it's as if he's been allowed to sit here beneath the salt of the environment, the sound of the ocean, and the activity in and around this alley for months. His skin begins to sallow and chalk. But that's all that it would do. It's not going to slough off. The hair isn't going to fall away. He is going to be a months-old corpse, having been left lying fallow in this location for those months. Only slightly eroded around the edges, but clearly a corpse. Even as you lift him and hold him, the vitality that his corpse had laying there in the puddle of bate begins to slip away. It becomes obvious that he is in fact a dead thing. There's no way to, unfortunately, weekend at Bernie's him. There's no voodoo priest that has managed to keep the corpse looking fresh and vital. You are holding the corpse of your friend. You are in the presence of death itself. And again, as says, there is nothing to do save stash him inside a dumpster. The question is, are you going to be callous enough to fold him up and break him into smaller bits so that he fits inside one of the smaller standing ones? Or are you going to throw him into the back of that larger dumpster at the mouth of the alley? Closer to street side, but far less effort in trying to get him inside. And while you all decide that, as time is ticking away, inside, as you smear the blood, as you rouse just enough of your beast, as you tempt fate just enough with the presence of smearing your essence across Lacey, marring her face and yours. As the footfalls grow closer, you hear the unfortunate static of walkie-talkie, a CB, a personal something. It's not the usual cell phone that these security members have, but in fact, actual multi-channel private connection between themselves and their peers. And as you finally finish and bar the path, standing there before you is a relatively squat, square-bodied gentleman, easily 3 or 4 times your age, at least in his mortal years. His hair doing his best to escape his face, leaving him bald in the front border of his forehead and, well, the entirety of his face. The jowly scorn obvious. And though it is in fact quite dark, down this hall, he raises the sunglasses he's wearing in places. It's almost as if his hair, in its attempt to escape, has left a place for his sunglasses to rest perfectly. I shouldn't really be back here. Ma'ams.
Just wanted to get away from it for a private moment.
We have plenty of private spaces. You don't get nearly as many of the likes if you take a picture of what you're doing instead of doing it on the floor. I believe you guys should probably head back through the door you clearly exited from. This isn't for guests. Right that way, please. Could you just go ahead over there? Unless, of course, if you really need more privacy, I'll hold the camera for you, and you guys can take another, 25 seconds and wrap up whatever it is that you're doing. Is that something that you want? Me to hold the camera and you do whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Lacey is finding this new trend that has appeared absolutely fascinating. He's talking and she's like kind of staring at him, trying to figure him out like he's some sort of new species that she's never seen before, and smiles a little bit derangedly at him and starts to walk towards him. Oh, cute.
Lacey, be nice.
I'm always nice. What do you mean? I just want to pet him.
Damn. That I'm not anybody's pet. Yeah. You sorts of people get up to. I'm gonna have to get back. Over there. There's not. This isn't for whatever it is you get up to.
Have you ever been invited to join in on the fun?
You couldn't afford me. You couldn't afford me. Again, it was just a courtesy to hold your phone. It's clear that you guys are doing this for attention. So could you, politely, forgive me for saying it this way, but sometimes you gotta put your foot down. Could you, move your sapphic selves somewhere else?
How close has he let me get to him?
Far too close, and unlike every alarm bell that will be ringing in everyone else's head, there's a "I fucking dare you" glint behind his eye. There's a purposeful, "Oh look, it's me all alone. Please don't help, please" situation going on. There is a smirk and a smile to his antagonism. There is a entitled sense of risk in his presence.
This is so intriguing to me. I guess Lacey is not gonna touch him, but get as close as she can without touching him, because that smirk is giving her the but when she gets close enough to look him in his eyes, she's gonna cloud memory.
Oh, that is enjoyably different. And while that is being, and while that is in the offing, the question outside still remains: what are you going to do? Because it is clear that this is not far from the general egress of the broad wall. It is not far from some happenstance taking full hold, some passerby deciding to stop into the alley and empty their bladder of whatever they've managed to imbibe, some well-meaning police officer deciding to check that alley just in case, some good Samaritan deciding it would be wise to take a shortcut down that alley, because after all, you can get across the broadwalk if you go this way and that way. Oh, follow me, I know exactly where to go. They go hopping over fences. It is, with all due paranoia, that you all know, well, you are literal seconds, hundredths of a second from.
Maya will lead the way to the large dumpster that's going to be the quickest bin to dump him in.
Yep, yeah, we take him to the first place we can hide him. The closest one. As soon as there's no one looking. Like, alright. Toss him in. We'll come back for him in a minute.
And I'll snatch my wrap off before he goes in so it's not left as evidence with the body.
Okay.
Quick.
I'll say, alright, Samaya, do you have a car? Are you parked nearby?
It's miles away. The bin at the end, it's near the entrance to the alley. I know it's a close look, but it's the fastest way we can get rid of him.
It is. And that's almost as if by design. The alley that you're in, again, is not far from the broad walk. Looking at the neons that filter into the night sky around you. The smell of the ocean literally right there. Now, the scent of salt and sea is everywhere in Hollywood. And you've all existed in Hollywood long enough to gauge your proximity west to east based on the intensity of that scent. You've all learned to orient yourselves based on the overwhelming presence of the ocean scent in the air. Even with the rain, you can tell whether there's going to be a huge, overwhelming storm by how much salt is in the air as it approaches. The larger the storm, the less the salt of the ocean affects your nose. You know that squall out to sea is going to hit landfall when the scent of the ocean itself begins to dissipate. You know it's going to be a horrible storm when there's an absence of it in the air. When the tonsils aren't bruised and abraded by that scent, you know how intense the storm is going to be. How intense the rain is going to be. And if you were to give this a rating scale of 1 to oh fuck, you are well past oh fuck. Because that dumpster, closest to the mouth of the alley, farther away from the door you all found yourselves on the opposite side of. As you raise the lid and get him tossed in, you realize that you are far and away too close to the waterfront. if you were to gauge it, if you were to put a name to it, you say you're somewhere near Surf and Thomas. If you were forced to put a name to it, based on the sound of partying and then the balance of ocean air, the traffic sounds, and what have you, you put yourself near the furthest northern extreme of the Broad Walk. Not quite to the 822, but close enough that the sound of that non-stop motion and activity is echoing off the buildings, and puts you near where all of the mid to high mid-range hotels and beach clubs and nightclubs and the elite tourism actually exists. Not far from Loggerhead Park, not far from Lake Forest Park, there on the other side of the river. It is not the worst place to hide a body, but if you can find the worst place, you're not sure where that would be. Traffic happens all the time. Garbage happens all the time. It's one of the few places where the municipality are constantly in motion, constantly in activity, constantly cleaning, straightening, making things look nice for the tourists and the locals who can afford to live in the area. As you toss the body in, adding veracity to that statement, to that approximation in your head. You close the lid just as a garbage truck begins rolling down the street. You can see it there. You realize exactly where you are, within a quarter and New Mexico, not far from the Ocean Grande, not far from the Light Shelter Planning Studio, not far from the Ocean Inn, not far at all from your penthouse, Amaya. Not that you would ever dare to be in the area of all of these tourists, but you do have the opportunity of looking over the coastal landing, over the river. You have such a great view of both the ocean and the river, and it looks great, and it's a certain level of security and maintenance constantly present. You know that under other circumstances, any circumstance, you'd make that 2, 3, is it 3, maybe 4 block walk to your condo, to your penthouse. You know that you're right there. You know there's a high-end bread and breakfast that you've had the opportunity of feeding at within the next 3 blocks of where you are. And these blocks are not New York City blocks, they're not Chicago City blocks, they're not Los Angeles blocks, but the blocks here are oblong and awkward, and some sides are longer than others, but they're walkable. You also are aware that while you're not going to have as many cell phones, cameras, and the like, there are far more of that than was there just as little as a year ago. Or people who are less refined are moving into the area, making their monies on Talkbook or though there's a growing presence of the surveillance state being carried out more and more. And inside, Lacey, would you just go ahead and roll your dominate for me, please? You're hoping to catch his gaze.
Dominate plus anything or just dominate?
Which discipline are you using?
Cloud memory.
Okay.
I think it's charisma plus dominate.
Yes. Charisma plus dominate versus wits and resolve.
That is a 4.
That is a 4.
Not bad.
Great. All things being considered. The stress of the situation, the ability to meet his gaze. There's a weight to eye-to-eye recognition. There is a instinctual thing that happens when we catch someone else's gaze, when we look longingly or deeply into someone else's eyes. It's a hard thing to do, and it grows harder by the generation to meet and weigh oneself against another living soul, whether that soul is your pet, your child, your parents, your siblings, lovers. There's a lot of implied difficulty and consideration there. Most of what we do on a daily basis is to avoid being perceived. Most of what we do is to exist in our own little bubble and not have to plumb the depths of another soul, because everything is really subjective, really focused on what we intuit of the world around us. So what we're feeling about ourselves, what we feel about ourselves, some fantasy that we've bought lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels is what we will often see in the eyes of those around us. When we see all of our fears, our insecurities, our vanities. And it's a hard thing to muster. It's why meeting one's own gaze in the mirror is oftentimes more difficult than we give it credit for. And yet, as Lacey makes contact with him, because that's what it is, eye to eye, soul to soul, contact with him, easing smirk in his gaze, she latches on to that ephemeral, smoky wisp of a mind. She reaches across the distance and pulls it into herself. Not that she gains the knowledge of it, but she removes the knowledge of it from him. It is brain surgery done with a machete. Last few seconds. The reason why he was in the area, his patrol route, and needing to check the breach, because that's what it is, to the security. He's staring into Lacey's face. And something else for a brief, flickering second slides behind his eyes and looks out. Meets the balance of Lacey's existence. And then slides away. Speaking of sliding away, knowing where you are, Samaya, based on several clues and factors and considerations, as you get the body into the dumpster, realizing where approximately on the Broadwalk you are, and realizing that there's a garbage truck right there. You know that from your own idle attention to your area and the expectations of the municipality in this portion of the Broadwalk. Considerations, conversations, thoughts, because yeah, they're right there.
Did they see us?
Oh, it would have been impossible for them to not see you.
Fuck.
How many of them?
The usual municipal greed means that there's a driver and a helper on the truck. That's it. That is one of the heavy duty work crews that operates overnight. Normally, during the daytime, it's just one driver and they back up to the dumpster. But in this case, because it's a heavy flow area, they need to make so many drops and deliveries. There are 2 men to carry the tons of rubbish and trash to help lift and load, to help unload and keep the truck clean. And yeah, 2 persons, the driver and the helper, the laborer, as it's called. They make a grand whopping of, very low to mid 5 figures. The driver can get up to mid 5 figures, but it's a decent living, plus they pay overtime because you work during the storms, you work overnight, you get overtime, which changes it to the higher mid of the mid 5s. So yeah, it's good work if you can get it.
Is this the type of truck where they manually throw it in the back, or is it a machine that lifts it and dumps it in the top?
There's a machine.
So they may not even see. Is it so the type they would just dump the whole dumpster in the top and then it all gets compacted down, right?
It's lifted and compacted into the back. Yes, there is the mechanical lift.
Did they see us drop the body in, or is it that...
That is a good question. Samaya, what is it that you believe they saw based on your knowledge of the area? What is it that you relayed to your coterie mates, considering that truck is on its way here?
Do they look alarmed? Is my question.
That's a good question. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits and insight?
Alright. I do a plus surge to the pool number. Will that apply the surge?
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't seem to want to take the surge, so I'm going to put it in manually as 2.
Tamaya has spent the vast majority of her existence in the lap of luxury. Tamaya, for the vast majority of her existence, both living and dead, has had money. And that means something more than what most people suspect and expect. Unlike many, Tamaya wasn't born to money. So she's learned the behaviors of those who have been exposed to it secondhand as employees and servants to those with money. Oh, they fucking saw.
What?
And it's likely they're not going to fucking stop. They're going to play it off and ignore what it is that they might have been exposed to in the effort of hanging on to their job and their sanity. Chance that they won't mention his night ever. There's also equally as good of a chance as they're going to do whatever it takes for them to potentially profit off of it. It is literally a devil's deal, a consideration of which matters most to them and not knowing who they are. Are they the sort to capitalize on others' situations for their own benefit, or are they the servants that get the lifelong contract because they know how to keep their mouths and their eyes to themselves? That is anyone's guess, and you don't know enough about either of those individuals to make that discernment.
Well, I'm going to take a risk and attempt to intimidate them as they approach in passing. To give them the idea, if they ever do anything to say about this, that I will find them.
You know, before anything else happens, can I do a read their auras? I want to get their current emotional state, if possible.
And if I notice what they're looking at, can I dip around the alley and activate Cloak of Shadows, because I don't really want to be seen?
You can always run. You can always leave your coder members there to deal with whatever comes. It doesn't take long for you to slip from the mind and slip away from thought. You just need to not be being watched at the moment. You need to not be noticed. And that requires a bit of quiet. It requires a bit of sitting or standing or just outside of the... People begin to question, were you even there to begin with? While that is in consideration, their emotional states, that is a...
Yeah, I'd like to scry the soul.
Both at once? You're targeting
I think
one
I have to
over
pick
the
a
other?
target. Actually, so I can either pick a target or scan for a specific trait. So I'd actually rather do the other version, where I'm just scanning a crowd of 2, for any raised emotional state, just to see if they seem alarmed or distressed.
Roll your intelligence plus aspects when you get the opportunity, as high as possible. And while that roll is happening, Rick, are you distancing yourself? Are you attempting to find a occluded bit of darkness? Are you leaving in part or in whole?
I will be stepping into stepping around the corner, maybe even by the dumpster itself, where I'm kind of just out of sight, kind of just sitting down and then just activate, and then just using that moment to kind of clear my head and activate Cloak of Shadows. I don't necessarily want to abandon my co-mates in case I'm needed for anything else, but I'd like to be out of sight just as a precaution.
Excellent. Though difficult, would you be so honest to go ahead and roll your resolve plus stealth as high as you possibly can? And in the same breath, Samaya, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus intimidation as high as you can? And while
May I
that roll
also-
is happening,
May I also apply my cloak to improve my intimidation?
your look.
Your shadow cloak? It gives me a 2 to my intimidation.
Okay. Yes. Yes. We like the supernatural spookiness to take place. Yes. All right. And while inside, while that roll is happening,
Sorry, what difficulty?
as high as possible. You get to decide on whether it is worth it to you as the character to invest more energy, effort, or what have you.
I'll put it at difficulty.
Standard is a minimum of 3. And as high as possible means that there's a chance that it is contested or that there are situational aspects that you are unaware of. So it will always be as high as possible with you deciding how much effort your character would like to put into that or not.
If they are just garbage guys, if they are just rubbish truck workers, I'll probably not put a large amount of effort. I'll put in a difficulty of 4. So
It doesn't change. As high as possible means you get to decide on what's your best outcome. Like, are you going to rouse? Are you going to spend willpower? Are you going to
so
add any additional umph? The standard difficulty is always 3, so you're always aiming for at least that. So when you put in your difficulty, should always be 3. However, the actual DC varies, so you get to decide on what effort you're putting in.
We'll just enter 3 for now, and then I guess you'll let us know after the fact if it was higher.
Okay, well, so pool 500, 200 eye, difficulty ring. I think that should be good. A bestial failure. I would like to re-roll that.
I got a 8
Go ahead, click that reroll right there. Yeah.
Apparently, it's still a bestial failure.
Nothing that happens.
The devil will have his due. Even if it is not due. Even if it does not do. The devil will have it all. There are situations where, again, fate lends a hand. Even if it is just to pick your pocket. Inside, watching that flicker of a gaze, watching the guard, that's really what he is. Over zealous, overpaid, clearly invested and involved guard. The affectations of breathiness, the presence of otherness about him, all the same, he is just a guard. Or maybe it's she is just a guard. Truth be told, you're not really sure in this day and age, and you don't really care. They are an obstacle. They are a hurdle, and they are in the way of potentially you all making it out of this situation relatively unscathed. You are in an illegal situation from the very get. And criminal. Oh, everyone likes to justify those who are on the wrong side of social mores. Will go to great extremes and lengths to protect their investment. And right now, you all are a threat to that investment. You are an issue. And that's the dissipate. He comes to. She comes to. Whatever it is that they actually are, you haven't had the opportunity to talk to them about it. They're there looking at you, Lacey. Ryan, you've watched this happen. You've heard the walkie-talkie, and you're gauging that the increase in static and garbled, almost baby-like gurgling sounds is English somewhere along the way, coming from that static, and you're sure that he could probably understand, or they can probably understand, or she can probably understand some of it. But the fact that it's coming more frequently gives you all the considerations you kind of sort of need. Lacey has them. You've seen people melt for Lacey before, and you've seen individuals lose themselves for Lacey before. What is it that you all do?
Now that he's good in, or they are good and compliant and distracted, Ryan and Macy should probably go back the way they came and try to meet up with the others later. So she's going to motion behind her to Ryan like that, come on, and step around them and head towards the room they left. So that when they fully come to themselves, hopefully neither of these two are in the hallway, or if they are, they can go, oops, wrong way, and turn back around, kind of thing.
Ryan's gonna follow, but look back to make sure that there's no evidence left on the door that somebody grabbed it and went out.
We're just going to go ahead and roll your wits plus larceny, and Lacey, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus stealth?
I can't use subterfuge.
No sabe inglés, como se dice en español, por favor, señora.
Don't make me look that up. I'm learning Spanish. I could probably tell you.
You speak English. Can you say that in Spanish, please?
Yo no sé. Oh, thank God.
We are burning through the blood tonight, aren't we?
We just went back into a room full of blood, and I still haven't had a cocktail, so...
Yeah, I never got to drink the one in my hand. You stood on the ground.
You did. Several things become immediately aware to you all. Ryan, let's start with you.
Yes.
Doors such as that, kick plate doors on places where there are lots of people, can't always be monitored. One is just, a waste of manpower having someone stand by the door. Two, it usually, in situations like this, would not provide them the opportunity of being able to really be assistive to any of the other floating security. So most places, especially sound stages and shooting sites that are semi-open to the public, to keep aware of it, there is someone somewhere with a chime in their ear every time that door is open. And someone somewhere is aware as to how many times that door has opened. Couldn't tell you who's exited or who's entered, but they'd be able to track back, usually through some hidden camera, some check of a security officer who was nearest that door or who was on the opposite side of that door when they checked, when they bothered to look and investigate. Somewhere, someone right now has counted the number of times that door has opened. And their forward scout, this particular security officer, needs to come back with some information. Otherwise, there's usually an increased security presence, all quietly without rousing the suspicion of other partiers or staff members or crew members in the area. And while you understand that and consider that, Lacey, there's a subtle subterfuge necessary to blend in with almost anyone. It comes relatively natural for you, being able to watch people and adapt to their ebb and flow, especially the fact that you're able to watch not just people but yourself at times, and you're able to press A while holding the left trigger so that you can barrel roll socially into an environment. And Claudia had that same ability of being able to be a social butterfly and float from one thing to the next and be what was needed. And what you need right now is the ability to not be you, not be here in this moment, not have the fact that there was someone else there inside the security officer, to not fucking be here. You shouldn't have came to this party, shouldn't have followed up on that invitation. Yes, it's an elite invitation, and yes, but now you're invested, you're not invested. Fuck this place, let's get the fuck out of here. Because something else was in that security officer. And you find a perfect approximation of camouflage for you and Ryan to mingle with. It's a group of local artistes who dabble and mix with those with money and those without, because they happen to be friendly and usually have more than an ample amount of illicit party favors. They're tolerated, and their art is nothing more than a cover for the distribution of non-FDA regulated pharmacological exploratory aids and devices. And you find them just as Claudia found you, and right at the moment when you needed her and she needed you the most. And they remind you of Claudia, friendly, mellow vibes, everybody, and you managed to pull you and Ryan into their circle of association.
When we get some cover, I kind of lean into Ryan and whisper near her ear. There was something wrong with that man. Not alone in his head, but it worked for now.
We need to get out of here and find them. That back door, there was monitors on it. I think we might need to go back out that way just to have a reason to have been back there. Throw off their count a little.
Probably should wait a bit till they leave and go about their business.
Ryan's gonna take a drink finally off of one of the trays going past.
Does she quaff it all at once? Does she sip? Does she savor? Does she just chug it as if she's taking down a bottle of Pepto.
Chug the first half and catch herself. These are really good. But it's been a while.
All content is a surprise. The actual alcohol content is a surprise. How long has it been since Ryan has had the opportunity of imbibing actual blood of a victim? Not through alternative means of absorption by literally alcohol poisoning your victim, but having had alcohol, the essence of goodness, directly from source, as it were. Not muddled and muddied and diminished, but actually just a quick.
It has been 17 years. Oof.
Feel your pupils dilate as you feel your vitae push and decide and want to move and flush your skin. You take a small step sideways, back out as the driver nearly crashes the truck. The shadows that crawl across Samaya's face, adding to the lighting, the wane lighting though there is here in the alley, turning her into a temporarily object of modern art, harsh lie, lit from beneath, the shallows themselves writhing and reaching towards the driver. He's sure of what he saw, but there's no proof of what he saw because there's no way that fucking shadows move like that. And all, even with the inherent impossibility of that, would be fine. Say if Elias realizes that they're too calm, there's a color and a hue, calmness. You grow accustomed to certain things. There's a certain level of insanity that you expect when you associate with certain people, and so you turn a blind eye. You know, more money than sense, more whatever than common understanding, more they're just kooky rich folks or kooky tourists, or they won't be here next week, so it doesn't matter. And all of those thoughts help and aid those who serve those moneyed individuals. They were too calm until the alley as a whole and in part shifted in your view of things as you're focusing on the driver and the helper and getting the gauge of their emotional wherewithal. Their calm goes from standard, easy, mellow ebbing to a near psychedelically kaleidoscopic shift of things. There's pinks and browns and blacks and blues and reds, and most importantly, a huge, glaring, bright flash of inordinate amounts of yellow all through them. It wasn't just the driver that saw whatever it was that they saw, but it was the driver who lost control of themselves in that moment and nearly swerved the garbage truck, which is not made to do much more than go in a straight line. Even when it corners in a straight line. It is a vehicle designed to, at best, be guided on the open ocean. So loss of control is not a small thing. It happens by degrees. And quickly attempting to try to right yourself oftentimes makes the situation worse. And the exact same moment as those realizations are happening, Rick, how long dead have you been?
3 years.
3 years. That is longer than most people would expect. Because you don't think about those things until you're in the midst of them. And those things being the hell of an existence your first few nights were. And the fact that unlike nearly every other kindred, those first nights are still with you. There are nights, because that's all there is now, are nights where your skin still is settling. There are nights where the phantom pain of your nose and the bits of yourself that are no longer there internally still rear their heads.
Plus
There
the
are
weeping sores that have come from his track mark, from old injection sites that are constantly bringing back bad memories.
just the memories would be fine, but you can feel them, including the ones you don't like talking about, where you try to shoot up in secret, in sensitive places, in places that most people would never have the opportunity of noticing on your person, on your anatomy, moving with a life of their own, resettling into your current state. As many times as you've had the opportunity of speaking to and about and with other kindred about the state of affairs of you being fucking dead, there's no reason and no rhyme why your skin feels so very alive in certain moments where you could swear you could feel the bacteria that was once alive in your skin slither. There's no reason why you can feel the plates of your skull shifting and sliding like the tectonic plates of the earth. There's no reason why you should come to your existence in the dark of night and feel as if your eyeballs, your pupils in their socket are inflating like a child's party balloon, and yet you do. And 3 years of this is enough to drive nearly anyone mad. And you'd expect that all of those birthing pains of being killed into your existence would be over. And yet there are moments like now, when you step into the darkness and you feel the remnants of your liver and your pancreas shriveling in response to the emotional impulses around you. When you feel your skin growing colder and cooler by the second. When you feel your teeth wobbling on their own like a branch, a leaf in the wind. When you feel those old injuries of your living days, your living skin, begin to ooze and crawl and reach out toward each other. And there's something, you've heard others call it the beast. Some call it the hunger. Some call it their dark passage. Others still, so many names for it out there to distance themselves from the fact that it's all of those shames, all of those nights sitting in the dark, doing things to yourself or to someone else that you know for a fact tear up your golden ticket into heaven. That shame and that guilt rear its head and begin whispering to you in a way that only it can, in voices that only you know have value. Because it's okay being hated by the derelicts of society. It's okay being hated and despised by those who have nothing to offer you. No love, not even any actual enmity, but just do it out of habit. And then there are voices that matter. Voices that actually see you. That actually wanted to see you. That actually wanted to be in your presence and have you in theirs. And those are the voices that cause the guilt to rise to the point of exploding up and out of you. the driver who saw you, not the mask, not the helmet, not the hood. Fucking driver saw you. Even right now, you're sure he's sting. That's the reason why he lost control of the fucking truck. You gotta do something. You fucking need to do something because your existence, your presence, your face, the ichor of your existence is enough to dirty and sully everyone. And these people don't deserve that. Tristan didn't deserve that. They don't deserve to have the stink of you on them.
Fuck. How will I make this lash out then? I try and to the others, I'm trying to step into the shadows, clearly trying to do something, but then just in a moment, as the truck goes past, he almost seems to not bother with it anymore. He seems just infuriated. He looks over to you. He's like, we need to deal with them. They've seen me. We can't let them go. They need to go now before things get worse.
When I had my successful scry the soul, did I sense any strong emotion from them?
Yes. Remember the description
Colors.
of the calm plastic, the psychedelic explosion of colors, the bright yellows all of a sudden? Yes, that was a strong, immediate difference in the absence of calm. That is the whole fuck.
Yeah.
So this is why I wear a fucking mask everywhere. 'Cause I'm like, shit. This is why he brought me out, isn't it? This is why he told me to attend. He wanted this to fucking happen. Right, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna stop that? We need to stop them now.
What are the trashmen doing right now?
Keep from crashing into the building.
They should crash into the building.
Let them crash. We'll deal with them after.
Yeah. Now, would we know? We've been in our coterie for long enough, I assume. Would we know that some members of the coterie can make people lose their memory?
I
don't remember if-
the members on that side of the door.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be helpful. I don't think anyone out here can do that.
I don't think so. I think the two of us are inside.
And we would have
think-
to get them. That's the problem.
I think
That's
I'm gonna
the problem.
try. I think I'd try calling one of you. Probably Ryan.
It was like,
I don't know if she'd have a phone on her. I don't. No, I don't think she'd have a phone on her.
Question is, would he know that?
I just tried calling.
Yes.
Sounds like it
So,
doesn't answer.
So as Rick is exemplifying his online handle of feral, and as Samaya becomes a living embodiment of all the darkness of money and power and control, Elias picks up his phone. Phone first. Reach out and call someone. And the truck driver is literally experiencing a small myocardial infraction because there's no way that he saw what he saw, but he saw and then what he saw enough to literally scare the piss out of him. And the helper, having seen some of what he saw and knowing he saw what he needed to difficulty and needs to keep calm because, after all, freaking out as the driver freaks out doesn't help you from not being victim and witness to the crime of, well, damaging city property for one, and two, maybe not being able to walk away from this and what that was back there. Action to action. We have a growing situation, and it is 47 after the hour. Let's take a quick 10, giving you all an opportunity to collect yourselves and our thoughts, and then we'll be right back here at exactly 10 minutes from now to close out this particularly invested investigation. But there is a such thing as ignorance as bliss. You don't get in trouble if you don't know that you're in trouble.
I was a very inquisitive toreador, which was probably not a good idea, but I own the club I had. I really want my character really wanted to be set as an Elysium, so he just wanted to learn lots of. He's a very curious boy.
So, with the moment being what it is, with fate, kismet, serendipity, and all of the others having lent their hands, their orifices, and their cudgels, their weaponry, to your cause, for good and for ill, what is it that everyone is doing? And for this, we will move alphabetically, starting with Elias, then Lacey, then Rick, then Ryan, then Samaya. What is it that we are deciding to do? And what is it that we are actually doing?
I tried calling Ryan, and assuming she doesn't answer the phone, I'm walking towards where I expect the car crash to be, or the truck crash.
Okay.
And my plan, if it gets that far, is to pretend to call 911 after they've crashed. And just kind of delay them and keep them there.
Okay. So a stall tactic in several different varieties of the action. Because one, while there are monsters in every shadow, in every reflected glimmer of the neon that abounds, in the sun-swept turquoise pinks and strange combinations thereof, purple, blue, red, and all of the others that compound to form the very colorscape and color grading of what Hollywood is, no one uses their phone to call. That's the weirdest thing that these people have ever actually probably seen. No one uses the actual phone portion of their phone. They use messaging apps. They use social media connections. They even use Google Documents to communicate with the world at large, but no one ever fucking calls from their cell phone. And in that same insanity, in that same hue of thought, where the realities that abound don't make any sense whatsoever, Lacey, with the knowledge that you have, and with the stakes growing and increasing by the micro nanosecond, what is it that you're deciding? What is it that you're doing?
We need to loop back so that we can get out of here and meet up with our coterie mates. To do that, I guess the shortest distance would be back the way we came again, and not go back out into the main dance floor, because that's the way they went, so we need to follow them that way. But what we were trying to do is give the security guard enough time to get out of that hallway before we went back into it. So I guess that's what we're doing. We are
so you're taking Ryan by the arm and pulling her down the hall? Or are you just quietly moving? What is it that you're
quietly moving back towards the door that we came out of, or that we came back into the room into, and sticking my head out the door to see if he's gone.
Okay. Rick. the grip of your beast.
Yes.
Its thumbs firmly on the controller. Its fingers firmly on the keyboard as to what you are doing. What is it that you've decided to do? And what has it demanded that you do?
I have a thought on that. Specifically, I was thinking that will I be able to know what compulsion I got? Because that will kind of dictate what action I would be planning on taking. Rage.
To give it more detail so that it might help with your perception. Every shameful incident, from the moment of you discovering self-pleasure to you forgetting to change your pants on your first date, to you standing before a room full of people who are heckling and otherwise deriding your existence, to the shame of when you first found, to the shame of you letting down those who spent time, effort, money, and love to try to make sure you stayed clean when you relapsed. The anger in response to that shame, those guilt, those you shouldn't be seen. You don't deserve the love that you've been given or the time that you've been given. The anger in viewing those thoughts is what's possessing you. In your worst moments, the worst person to see you sees you. When you have the needle resting against your skin, beginning to pierce through your father, your mother, your cousin, your sister, your priest, your employer, happen into the room. When you have your self in hand to engage in self-soothing, your lover walks in, your father, your mother, your cousin, your doctor. When you've swore to everyone that you had gotten clean and that you weren't going to do it anymore, and you fell, you stumbled, and you went and you purchased, just as the moment the money exchanges your hand and you're about to receive all of that heaven in a bag and a vial and a syringe and a pill, family that paid for your rehab, the counselor who put their hopes as to your sobriety, the better version of you, all walk around the corner. The anger to those moments is what Rick is feeling. The anger and the rage that normally sits impotently in our chest at those lowest moments and has no one to rail against except for ourselves is what Rick is feeling. That visceral anger. And he has a cause, a source, a reason. And it's not who's purchased the drugs. It was that fucker behind the wheel of that truck. It wasn't him that decided to take himself out and do what best felt pleasurable in that moment. It was that fucker behind that truck. It wasn't him that fell and stumbled. It was that fucker behind the wheel of that truck that tripped him. It wasn't him that let everyone down. It was that fucker behind that truck.
With that additional context, then, after sort of that rage starts to build, and he sees the truck swerving, and it looks like he's about to crash, Rick would be almost primed. If the others are looking at him, he looks like he is in a fury, and he is staring at that truck. And the second that truck collides with a wall, or whatever it crashes with, he is in a dead sprint towards the driver's seat. He does not care about anything else other than that person being ripped limb from limb.
All right.
Yeah, seeing this, I think Elias is going to call out and be like, hey, wait. No, stop. We can fix this.
He is not listening to you. At that point, if anything, if you try and get in his way, he is roughly grabbing you and almost throwing you to the side as soon as he hears the crash, and he's off.
Oh shit.
Eat. And speaking of Shiza, fecal matter, Ryan, do you have any enhanced senses?
No. No, I do not.
Excellent. Ignorance is bliss in this particular regard. So, as Lacey, would you be so kind? First things first. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus your obfuscate? With that roll, Ryan, you will use that as your DC and roll against to see. Do you even notice that Lacey just isn't there? As you are talking with the lovely flower, her hetero life mate, Paul, who is a lovely blonde from Sarasota. They've been in the area for about at this point 8 months, and they just kind of go where they need to go, but where the muses take them. They managed to just 2 weeks ago they were just there on in Miami on South Beach, and they met this lovely businessman from Central America who had several interests in their particular style of art, which is like punctualism, except for they use what the earth provides. They mix all of their paints, most of which contain portions of themselves. Like each painting, each piece that they put together uses all natural sources. Like the reds come from, well, unfortunately, we have various biological moments that happen, and so we use that in our paints. We also have various biological moments. That's the reason why how we mix our browns, and then we take the yellow from various flowers, and we use all natural sources. So our paintings are in fact a moment in time, each and every lesson. And as they're going on and regaling you, it's hard to not see how to profit.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to not
What's
see
the roll
how
again?
You're going to be rolling your wits plus either awareness or stealth versus that. So you need a 4 total is your total outcome. And as they're regaling you, the opportunities for making money, not just within the kindred community, because that gives you the kindred the opportunity, especially if they have any of the natural extrasensory abilities of that kindred have, to be overwhelmed and be caught in the moment with the vitae but just in the real world, art in of itself has always been used to launder money. Art in and of itself has always been used as a way to separate the haves versus the have-not. The artists up until last century were always supported by patrons who would funnel money into them for their lifestyle, for their lives, and for everything else. And if you have artists who use relatively low overhead ingredients and there's not much need for patrons to actually do much for them, you could take that money. Unless to be perfectly honest, you could take that money. Don't need much, and they're making a shit ton with all of their pharmacological means. This is a way in. You can find where kindred rest for the day. You can find where their servants, their retainers, their man servants, their woman servants, their head of house. This is a way in. This party circuit is some real Wait, where the fuck is Lacey?
I don't know.
No, you don't. I swept along in the titillating conversation. It takes you a second to pull yourself far enough back from the tactical application of what you're learning, associating with this group of floating, almost hippie-inspired commune. They don't call themselves hippies, but you've done readings, and, well, let's be perfectly honest, you've seen docu-series on YouTube and a few other places as to what they were, as to what they accomplished, as to how they helped ruin the economy for others. Their ideals carried out and fought against created much of the gulf of wealth distribution. those hippies that once believed in free love gained the E generation. And then their children only further propagated it. The mortal world in which they are involved, the mortal world in which you recently left, is in the state that it is in because of the absence of circulation of wealth. What was normally a free resource has been commodified and sold, repackaged and sold again. And every time it's repackaged and sold, someone tacks on a little more to the overhead. Every time it's given to the public, there's an additional cost attributed. And just like in the kindred community, where there is an absence of circulation of wealth, there's no inheritors, there's no one who profits except for those who hold the keys to production. It is much the same. There aren't any real inheritors. People are living longer, surviving things that would normally be mortal accidents. And they secure their wealth in such a way that even if and when there are inheritors, there's not much between the taxes that are paid, even with the protections in place, between the fees that are paid for those who manage, and funerary rights that are literal fortunes in and of themselves. By the time everything's liquidated, there's not much for the inheritors. That generational wealth, well, it still exists, but not in the way that it would otherwise. Because the hippies, the me generation, held on with tooth and nail, who taught those same habits to their children and their children's children. So it just gets worse. The product is packaged and repackaged. And every time it's packaged and repackaged, there's additional costs, there's additional overhead. And speaking of overhead, Samaya, you understand the theatrics of fear. There's real fear that very few people actually give license and voice to. It's the sort of thing that has people either fight, flight, or freeze. It's the real fear that often spurs on a rage and angry response. There's the real fear that is the initial feelings that posit several secondary expressive reactions. And in that driver's eyes, you didn't just see real fear. You saw the effects of terror. You're sure that that driver, as they are fighting the movement, the velocity of their vehicle, now there's a wet stain where they're sitting. You're sure that that absence of color in that driver's face is 100% a non-theatrical expression of actual fear. Existential to the sort that the soul quakes and quivers. Fear so profound you are sure that this night, this moment, is seared into their subconscious. They will wake up screaming if they wake up after whatever happens. Power in that, which is the other part that you recognize. Just like you recognize the speeding bullet of hell that is Rick as he goes racing towards the truck.
Gotta say, but it's in Sumaya's interest to let Rick have his way because that driver is gonna have to end. She's gonna use the moment that way. It's a bit like, oh no, stop. And if that vehicle does crash somewhere and Rick moves like that, Sumaya will follow to finish. and shape it as she needs to maintain her position.
There is much need there. Entirely. There are several things that have happened at once and that continue happening. And while we've taken the primrose path to reach this point of the evening, we are in fact here, this portion of the evening. And the ramifications of our actions and choices and decisions reaches its heightened state. We are at the apex of all of those decisions. We are at the apex of all of those moments. And so to paint the picture, as it were, our final snapshot, Rick is hurtling towards the truck, which is scraping and slowly easing to a stop as the front passenger corner of the vehicle strikes the corner of the building. In his shadow, even though he began moving first, is Elias, phone in hand, the wan light of that cell phone screen illuminating that side of his face, competing with the residual glow of the neon lights and welcome signs and all of the other trappings of a tourist trap area. Changes how he looks as he attempts to interpose himself between the speeding, hurtling, visceral form that is Rick and the quiet, cold death that is Samaya. Because that's what Oblivion is. It is the far end of the spectrum of what life is, life, death, and all states in between. Oblivion is the essence of death. And in this moment, while quiet and silent, that is exactly what Samaya is. She is death. While all of that's happening under the neon glow of this portion of the Broadwalk, inside the club, inside the hollowed out hotel that is the headquarters of this get together, of this instance, of this proof of concept of a product that you all had a special invitation towards, Lacey, silent as a whisper, moves along, flipping from conversation to conversation, invisibly moving through the party towards the door, monitor the security officer who is reaching towards the kick plate on the door to open it, to double check and verify what is happening or what has happened, to make sure that the door is closed. No one can pull it open. No one put a matchbook or otherwise held the door open, unlocked, unsecured. Last thing they want is more people here that should be here, because the exclusivity, the privacy of this dissipates the moment that someone notices what's actually happening or what has been happening. And in the same space, though several parties and cliques and groups and conversations away, Ryan realizes what this is. She understands this is a venture. This is a soft opening of something grand. The air of exclusivity, the inclusive nature of a wide range of individuals all put together to bid towards the goal of excess. When you really think about it, what do you have here in this gathering? Elite kindred from a wide swath of the population, elite mortals from a wide swath of the population. You have all those in between, and as much security as you all saw coming in or being led in or that helped get here, there's not enough security to be everywhere. It's the sort of thing that the investors in the Titanic would do to maximize profit. The safety measures that would normally be in place were minimized. This is a concept. This is a soft opening. This is a venture that is both illegal, illicit, and ill-planned. but 100% clearly profitable. The proof of the concept is in the pudding. Even with the death of your coterie mate, even with the potential risk to those that are involved, the proof of concept is sound. Whatever this is, if someone was able to capitalize on this gathering of individuals, it would literally make a killing. And as those thoughts are sitting before the coterie, as the vehicle crashes, as the party reaches a crescendo, as Lacey realizes that things are more difficult than they ever could be. I'd like to thank you all for your patience, your understanding, and most importantly, your play. Good night, everybody.
Right.
We are definitely in trouble.
Yes.
Yes.
We're very much in trouble.
Oh, I was not expecting Beast of Failure so soon.